US President Donald Trump announced on Thursday, April 23rd, that the temporary ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon has been extended by 3 weeks. The decision followed high level second round talks at the White House between the Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors to the United States. The 3 week extension is intended to provide breathing room for diplomats to negotiate a more permanent security and peace agreement. The meeting included Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and the U.S. ambassadors to both Israel and Lebanon. Trump stated he expects to host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Lebanese President Joseph Aoun at the White House in the coming weeks for further negotiations. US President Donald Trump warned that the clock is ticking for Iran to reach a broader deal. He said that an Iranian proposal to bring an end to the war is not enough to avert his threat to destroy infrastructure unless Tehran reopens the Strait of Hormuz. Trump said on Monday that the Tuesday deadline he has set for Iran to make a deal was final. Amid a rash of additional threats and claims, he said the proposal would not alleviate US action. Trump warned on Sunday that unless Tehran agreed by Tuesday evening to allow free passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, he would order strikes on Iran's power plants and bridges. Iran's chief negotiator stated it is not possible to reopen the Strait of Hormuz due to alleged US and Israeli violations of the ceasefire. The European Union formally approved a 90 billion euro loan for Ukraine and a 20th sanctions package against Russia. On Thursday, the European Council finalized a massive financial and legislative offensive aimed at supporting Ukraine's long term recovery and further crippling Russia's ability to fund its war efforts. This landmark financial package is designed to provide Ukraine with predictable and stable funding through 2027. The loan is part of a broader Ukraine relief and reconstruction facility. A significant portion of the interest on this loan is expected to be covered by the windfall profits from frozen Russian sovereign assets held within the European Union. The funds are earmarked for maintaining essential public services and critical infrastructure repairs to the energy grid following recent Russian strikes. Disbursement is tied to ongoing rule of law reforms and anti corruption measures required for Ukraine's eventual European Union accession. The 20th sanctions package, which is the latest round of sanctions, represents the most aggressive attempt yet to close shadow fleet loopholes and target Russia's remaining high tech supply chains. The European Union has blacklisted an additional 45 vessels used by Russia to bypass the G7 oil price cap. These ships are now prohibited from accessing European Union ports or using European maritime services. Stricter export bans on advanced electronics, semiconductors, and drone components that have been found in Russian weaponry on the battlefield is being imposed by the European Union. For the first time, the European Union has included more Chinese and Indian entities on its restrictive list for allegedly re exporting European technology to Russia. While not on a total ban, the 20th package includes new restrictions on the transshipment of Russian LNG through European ports to third countries aimed at reducing Russia's logistics revenue. There is an expansion of the ban on Russian processed diamonds and high end jewelry imports. The European Union political stance is that the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stated that this double edged move sends a clear signal to the Kremlin that Europe's resolve will not crumble as the conflict enters its fifth year. Meta announced on Thursday, April 23rd, that it will cut approximately 8,000 jobs, representing roughly 10% of its global workforce. This move is part of a broader industry shift where tech giants are relocating capital from traditional payroll to massive investments in artificial intelligence infrastructure and high level specialized talent. Affected employees will be notified starting May 20th, 2026. In addition to the layoffs, Meta will close approximately 6,000 open positions that it previously intended to fill. US based workers are expected to receive packages including 16 weeks of base pay plus 2 weeks for every year of service. While global specific impacts have already been felt in Australia across advertising, sales, and public policy divisions. On the same day, Microsoft announced voluntary buyouts for roughly 8,750 US employees to fund its own $25 billion AI expansion. Other companies like Amazon and Oracle have also implemented significant cuts this year, citing similar AI driven pivots. South Korean prosecutors requested a 30-year prison sentence for ousted President Yoon Suk Yeol on Friday, April 24th. The sentencing request specifically relates to a case involving unauthorized drone flights over Pyongyang, North Korea in October 2024. Special Prosecutor Cho Yoon Suk argued that Yoon ordered the drone operation to deliberately provoke North Korea. Investigators allege the provocations were designed to create a warlike atmosphere to justify the declaration of martial law later that December. Yoon faces charges of general treason, harming South Korea's military interests, or providing benefits to an adversary even without direct collusion. Prosecutors claim that when one of the drones crashed, it risked exposing sensitive South Korean military capabilities. Yoon's legal team has denied all charges, asserting that the former president never took actions that could trigger an actual military clash.